Yay! I'm so glad we're here, Michelle. Welcome to Ripples of Success interview series. I'm Karen Kolika, KC. I am super happy to be here with Michelle Kaplan. Welcome.
Thank you so much. So great to be here with you.
So Michelle and I met a dog's age ago at a Jack Canfield event, right? And we had a ton of fun, and we've sort of touched base a couple times over the year, and then we reconnected just a couple of months ago. Michelle had posted something in LinkedIn. I loved your picture, and you were signing your books, sending them off to a book club, and I'm like, oh, that's so exciting. Really fun. So your book, tell me your book's name again.
My second book is Burst and Flourish.
Burst and Fleurish. I love that. And it's poetry, right?
Yes. So I write poetry, after working in corporate for 30 years in human resources. I've kind of, in the past 6 months, have integrated my love of writing and poetry with my HR and leadership development background, and throw in being a single mom and all of that. And really kind of, instead of having these like separate lives, kind of really integrating
them and weave them together. What a cool idea. I love that. It makes for a more cohesive life when you're not having to shift gears constantly, right?
Yeah, I mean, for so many years, I've been really working on being more authentic and living authentically, and, who am I? And all those can be existential questions, or really tangible, like really, what is happening today?
What am I doing?
Right. And I really felt that was like kind of, working towards that, even like the name of the book, Burst and Flourish, is like, once you know who you are, your life can kind of burst forth,
right,
and flourish, And
sometimes the burst feels like it's an explosion that might not feel so awesome, but then you get this amazing flourish out of it. And sometimes it is just an expansion. I've had it happen both ways in my world.
Yeah, same here. It's so true. It's so true.
Oh, that's awesome. And you've worked in corporate, as you said, for a long time, and in leadership for a long time.
Yes, I mean, I really spend most of my time now, I'm on my own doing consulting work, like a lot of organizational effectiveness, leadership development, really around psychological safety. And, really that for leaders to understand that their main function is to make sure that the people in their organization and their business are physically, mentally, and emotionally safe. Really getting down to that root cause of creating high performance teams and, successful organizations.
That's fantastic. And, you had an opportunity to look at the next level leader spectrums that Karen has developed. And I know we were chatting before, you're saying that it's a lot to pull together into a framework. Have you seen, when you were reviewing it, did you recognize the pieces in the people that you've been training over the years?
Oh, for sure. I even recognize myself. I mean, I give you guys a lot of credit. It's a great model because it's all in there. And it was just amazing how you were able to really like create that structure. So it's somewhat succinct, like there's something separate, but they're all interrelated. And I really identified with the level on active growth. Right. Like I was like, oh my God, that's what I've been doing, is like trying to, be more authentic and to live that way. I was trying to do all of them, but yes, people were coming in as well. So, kudos to you.
Well, that's awesome. So tell me about active growth in your world.
Yeah, so for me, I really started journey. I mean, when I was in, I would say my 30s, it's been about 16, 17 years ago. I had breast cancer. It was pretty serious, stage 2. And I went through many surgeries and chemo and radiation. Then when I got out of that, I really wanted to really just figure, okay, I get a second chance. And that really started the trail down the authenticity, which isn't always very easy. It's kind of like, of course, right? And there's a lot of stuff that comes up.
Yes.
I kind of likened it, one of my poems that I wrote is called Spiritual Facial. And it's really about, this authenticity journey is really, it reminds me of getting a facial.
Right.
Because I don't really like the process of getting a facial. I don't really like to get poked and prodded and,
Yeah.
putting masks on me, but gosh, we love the results. Like at the end, when you just feel so invigorated and illuminated, and right. So it's kind of like, yes, it is an up and down trail, because you do have to look at some things. I think if you had to sum it up, it's kind of like a lot of the things that you were that you did or didn't do that you wanted to, I was really kind of holding myself back,
Yeah.
right? And to kind of look at that in the mirror is like, wow. But then after that, you get excited because you're like, I could change that.
Well, this is it. And recognizing and going from that place of sort of who am I to do this, or who am I to say, or who am I to be, to really owning that value of your own authenticity, your own sense of who you are. That flip point is really a powerful, like, until you get there, you're never there, right? And then
Right.
once it happens, it's really hard to go back to the old, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, we can question ourselves again, but we never go back to that who am I to be.
Oh, that is so true, Karen. Exactly. And to your point, to add on to it, it's just that, it's a never ending process. It's not like there is some finish line. Like you get to this thing, and I kind of feel like you plateau at some point to get somewhat, and then you take a next big leap, whether you saw it coming or not, right? Sometimes
so
they're
true.
kind of given to you.
It's so true. I always say parenting and being an entrepreneur are two of the most challenging personal development exercises you could ever have.
Yes. Personal development. That's what I'll call it.
Yeah, personal development. Oh, it's
Yeah,
true.
no, but it's true. And it's like, a lot of times people ask me, so why do I do all this, right? Like, why am I making myself crazy, like trying to kind of figure things out? And I just, was answering it to someone I work with, and he was asking, because he was getting frustrated, right? It's not like he had the answers. He knew that he was kind of stuck and just didn't know how to move forward. But there's one poem of It's Okay If I Share
I love that.
that kind of really highlights why we do it, or at least I can speak for myself. And the short story behind it is that I live right outside New York City. And one day, a couple of years ago, I had to go in for a meeting at a hotel. So I took public transportation. I took the bus into Port Authority in New York. And it was like one of those like first spring days, like where it was like warm. Yeah. You could just like that hint of summer is coming. So I'm like, let me walk the 10 blocks. I'm not going to take a cab. So I did. It was beautiful. So as I'm walking back, like out of nowhere, this massive cloud just like comes out of nowhere, like, and starts pouring for about 15 minutes. It's like something out of like a movie set, And so I shared that because like nobody had umbrellas on them. I mean, I was just soaking wet. So everyone's running for cover. And I did it. And so this is the poem that I wrote, soaking wet on the bus ride back home. And it's called High Heeled Through the Storm. As they run for shelter, I keep walking like I own the place, uncovered, the rain pelting down on me. Despite the rumors that I'll melt right then and there on the sidewalk by the mere touch of water, I continue my stroll, even though I'm probably ruining my new silk blouse at this very moment. With my clothes clinging to my body, my hair plastered to my head, and whatever makeup I have left on my face after this crazy day streaked across my cheeks, I keep walking in long, slow strides, transfixed on the rain rather than the stream of jagged stairs. I just couldn't stop. I haven't felt this alive in a long time.
Love that. Goosebumps.
Yeah.
I know that feeling that where you just like lean into who you are. Like,
yes.
And you're like, yeah, this is who I am. It feels really good, doesn't it?
It does. It's really freeing. It's just like, right, to not really take in, well, you're being perceived by others and what other people are thinking, to really feel the rain, and to just, it has that childlike kind of playfulness to it. Yeah. And then in the sense to just be like, to really be so present and focused that I didn't even feel the need to, worry about what I look like, hair, whatever. It's like, it's all going to happen. And it was just so like, just being in that moment and feeling it. And almost like, as everyone's kind of, if you can imagine a busy city street, sidewalk, just everyone parting,
Like,
and then just really just slowly walking down. People, I don't even know. I really wasn't even paying attention. Like, I don't know, they're like, who is this person or whatever, but are doing their own thing. But it was just so freeing. And at that moment, I really realized how far I've come, and all that work that you put into yourself and invest to figure out who you are.
yeah.
It's like, that's the payoff.
Yes, that moment, and that sense of grounded. It's interesting, people say like, are all these spectrums sort of separate? Well, no, they all link together, because in order to get to that place, you need to have the grounded alignment.
Yes.
Right? You need to get who you are and what you're about, and that allows you the platform for the active growth, so that you can really recognize who what your value is and what you bring to the world. And they
Yes.
come together like this, right? As they each grow.
Yes. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, and those moments like that, are just moments, right? Your life isn't just walking around and, just in this pristine type of, it's like you have those moments, and you also have, some darker moments. But really what's so great is that the time that you spend, I always call underground, that's what I call it, is really less often, or when I do, it doesn't take as long to kind of get back up.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that comes from this continual growth, awareness, and really being able to ground into yourself and allow yourself to grow from there. I've found the same, that the more I grow, the faster I grow.
Right. Right. And then don't you find, like, when you start going on this journey, you just start attracting and finding all these people who are kind of, and then hearing the details of their story is so fascinating to me, to really connect with kindred spirits, and to hear it.
True. It's so true. I think that, this is one of the places where, when you're working in corporate, especially in those places where you're coming into an environment, you don't necessarily know sort of what the mindset is of the people that you're working with. And then to be able to create a space to have that leadership conversation, to help people be able to see what's possible. That's exciting.
Yeah, and I think what's so great about what you and your company is doing is that, you're really building a sense of community. I mean, that's such a, right, a global human need is that sense of belonging,
Yes.
and to really contribute and learn and grow. And you are really creating, that safe environment for really people to flourish on their own. It's really very inspiring, Karen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's when we connect in with people in a really real way, it allows for more growth, more opportunity to lead ourselves. Right?
Yes.
I think at the end of the day, and I imagine this is partly what you're teaching, you're training your people when you go out into these organizations is, when someone leads themselves, then they have a better capacity to lead others.
Yes, yes, exactly. And so I really kind of stress, right, that the change comes from within.
Right.
That really, it's kind of like, let's keep it the safety word is what I really kind of say. It's like when you create the safety within yourself, there's really nothing out of your comfort zone. I mean, sure, some things are like, all right, I have to do it, but you're going to be okay. And it's really coming from your own safety.
That's right.
Or sometimes we do need the help of others as well. But I just find that, right, if you focus on yourself and you create that I mean, this has been around for a long time, right? I mean, even like chakras and energy, right? The first chakra is about safety and security, at the base. And so really, we all really want to leverage our actions, and maximize what we do. And so it's really kind of coming together and building that sense of community. I mean, we don't do it alone. There's no overnight successes. We sure don't do it alone.
For sure. And so tell me, where would you say you, like, obviously in your work, where else do you lead in your life?
I lead in my house. I am the but I have a 14-year-old daughter.
There's some leading there.
So yeah, some leading there. And, I really want to say, I think in the past, like pre-COVID, I was more involved with things. So I would say like in different, organizations and in the community. It's been very interesting this year. And I really get a sense lately that things are picking back up because I'm starting to get the phone calls back about, can you help? Can you help? And you want to help everybody.
Yes.
And I think part of that awareness, what I'm still processing or trying to figure out, this might be relatable to others, is that, the boundary and saying no, to really create that vision, prioritize. And I've had to a few times this week have to say no to things that are coming up in April or this summer. And gosh, I still feel bad about doing that. But I did this time saying, I please get me next time, but not this year as well. And that's been an interesting process.
Yeah, it's boundaries is a challenging one, isn't it? We struggle with it. One of the conversations we've been having lately is this sort of acknowledgement that there's been some really kind of exceptional gifts that have come out of this last year. And someone else had talked about boundaries and finding that they were more able to sort of recognize where they needed to hold their own boundaries. Are there other things that have come for you in this last year that as we move into whatever this new normal looks like, that you'd like to pull through with you, maybe that wasn't there before?
That's a great question. I think what just came up for me is that I realize I'm more of an introvert than I realized that, when you're just on and going, you just go. And I love people. I love, but there's also that real part of me that craves. I have to say that there were times where I definitely felt isolated and alone. So not to diminish that, but there were also times where I was pleasantly surprised that I had some time to kind of catch my breath in pockets of moments, with working and all that. Because I definitely felt the blurred lines of like work and home life, right? I totally was feeling that. But there's also a part of me that was just really nice not to be on. And I really want to try to continue that, to kind of create more pockets of, I don't mind being alone. And I guess that's also part of the active growth. And like, once you figure out who you are and like, you don't mind your own company. Yeah. Right. And so that was kind of interesting. I never really knew that about myself. So I don't know if I've always been that way and I'm just discovering it, or through this whole process as well. I feel like it's a combination of both.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've had a very similar experience. And I'm like, oh, I actually really kind of like being on my own. And my husband travels for work and he hasn't been traveling, of course. So he's been home a ton. And I'm like, wow, I love him being here. And there's been a lot more time where he's been here. Normally I have these like chunks of time where I'm by myself. And I'm like, oh, I guess I do want, I do have that space. And that's been really interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting with my daughter. It's like, we're in the same house, but she's on virtual school. Right. I mean, like, it's weird that we are kind of separate. But I know that when she goes back, if she doesn't go back by the end of this year, by the fall, I know that, like, I think I'm gonna miss her, like it is weird to not have her there.
We were doing a fun sort of poll looking at, at this conversation about what do you want to pull into, the next new normal. And, of course, we talked about Zoom fashion and comfy shoes and that sort of thing. But also, I think people are really enjoying having the additional family time and the space that to be able to hang out with their family in a different way.
Right. No, it's true. I mean, to have a family dinner, for me to have it's like regularly is like, was interesting. So for sure.
Oh, that's neat. Well, I really am excited about the weaving that you're doing in your world with your writing and the work that you're doing with leadership. Do you have another poem you want to share with us before we wrap up?
Oh, yeah. I think I'll keep it a short one. I think that, again, I want to keep it with the same theme.
Awesome.
So this is something I wrote, it was like I write early in the mornings. I don't write all day. I don't have time, but I'll spend anywhere from like 10 minutes to like 45 minutes. And I remember this one like woke me up almost. It
Oh,
was like
wow.
I wrote it down and it was just like, it's near the end of like my first book is really about me going within. Um, and kind of figuring things out. And so I think that's what's kind of popping up for me right now. I was gonna, maybe read something else, but we just go with it.
I love it.
And to end with, it's kind of like to really think about the value of being authentic, like the authenticity, and also the process, which isn't so fun. She finally remembered who she truly is and did from there. Knowing who you really are, no one, no thing can hurt you. Knowing that, you're free.
Love that. Michelle, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. This has been really fun. Looking forward to connecting with you. And I appreciate you taking the time. This is great.
Thank you. It's been an honor. I really support you, cheer you on, and any way I could help you, I'd be more than happy to. So thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.